Yes, so we're probably live now, I'm guessing. And so that what that means is that it's time for the show to start. So what I'll do is undo this sharing here. And looks like we got quite a nice stop share. Boom. Okay, and I've got this nice video that was made for me. I promised to play it. It's very short. And this is something that I'll put on here. So hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. And it's great to be here in webinar number 14. And we're with Julia Cooke. Julia is from Immigration North Shore. She's an immigration agent, New Zealand Shores. I said North Shores, New Zealand Shores.
Yes, New Zealand Shores.
Julia's got 12 years of experience, and she's, I can do this, we can do this for you too, Julia, by the way. Yeah, probably it's a template. I mean, by now it's a template, quite a cool template.
That is, yeah.
This is royalty-free music, and it says the essentials of what needs to be said for people who are looking for assistance in this area. So I think we can all sort of identify with that sort of thing. Right, so here we are. We are in webinar 14. We have some changes now that are happening in the, oh, what's this going on? Take this away. Oh, chaos is breaking loose. We have some changes now going on in immigration, and that's making some people panic still. Although we settled many of the questions last time, thanks to Julia coming up with, the solutions there, we still have people asking questions because they didn't see the last show or because they have other questions continuing on from the first question. I think what we have is an actual event that's changing October 7th. We also have a long-term view that's 18 months ahead or something like that. Julia, do you want to start? Do you have is that a good place to start from?
Well, we can do. Yeah, we can start with that because I think that's what people are keen to hear about first. So yeah, with the changes, 7th of October is going to bring about an increase in the salary threshold for those who are applying for the work to resident visa with an accredited employer. So that will be going up from 55,000 to 79,560. It doesn't affect essential skills or anything like that at this point. So if you are applying for essential skills work visas, there's no changes just yet. That's something that will happen over the next 18 months to 2 years. The skilled migrant category is no changes too. So if you're applying for residency under the point system, there are no changes to that at all, not even in the next 18 months. That's being left alone right now. So that's really it in a nutshell. Yeah, that's pretty much what we covered last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We also had the question after you went off from an old client of mine called up, and he's already working here, and he's on a current work permit, work visa, and he asked me if these new changes would negate his work visa.
That's come up a few times with people being a bit nervous. If they've already got their visas, they don't need to worry. Those visas are safe. They can't be touched. They'll only come into under when they come to reapply, the new rules will apply. But if they get their resident visas in the meantime, then they don't need to worry about it. If their applications are in and not processed yet, again, they're not affected by the changes at all. They'll be processed under current policy. So they don't need to worry. It's only for new job offers and new applications going in. All
right, so who's affected? No one's affected now. October 7th, it starts to affect some people that are going for the talent visa. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not making a statement.
Yeah, you are correct.
And it's on the accredited employers. That's their privilege.
Correct. Yes, correct.
Okay, but anyone can do the point system, even with an accredited employer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they can. So even if they're on the work to residence pathway now with an accredited employer, they can still apply for residency as a skilled migrant if they wanted to speed things up and get their residency sooner.
Yes. Okay. And skilled migrant is not going to be touched for a while. We're looking at the possible changes. Could you guide us through some theory about what those got, where we're headed with this? A little bit of details about the vision. There's a vision behind this, isn't there? Do you have a theory about it?
Yeah. I think where they're going with it at the moment, we're very much a migrant-led sort of system, and they want to turn it into an employer-led system so that employers they're compliant, they're good employers, so they tick a lot of boxes and get approved by immigration to gain their accredited status. And all employers will need to have that if they want to hire overseas workers going forward. So that's like the rollout number one that they'll do is working with the employers to get them all up to scratch first before the changes can happen later on towards the work visa part. So there's going to be like a 3-stage thing. There'll be the employers and the labour market testing and then the work visa process at the end. So it's going to take quite a while to get it all in place.
No panic yet. It's the employers that have to panic first.
Yes, so we have to get all those employers on board first and get them straight and making sure they're ticking all their boxes first.
And employers will, of course, want to know cost, time, benefits, and that sort of thing. So that's their issue. They're going to be working through that. Yeah. And you'll be there to help us understand the basics of those things.
Yes, as policy gets written and released, then once we've had time to digest it, we'll be able to share it. At the moment, the policies aren't written for the new bits yet, so we can't even give you an idea of how it's actually going to fit together. So,
Julia, what I appreciate about you and others that are sort of have an independent nature, and just a personal approach, we as a group here, we like to just give things away. We like to help people. So if someone has help, we help them. I really appreciate your speaking out, not hiding what you're saying in code words or difficult language. And, you actually present facts that people can understand and use and apply to their lives.
Yeah. I mean, there's no point shrouding it in mystery. You need to understand if moving to New Zealand is actually viable for you. I mean, it's a big investment, and you want to know that you've got, the clear instructions before you make that leap. It's a big decision, so you've got to be fully informed. So you've got to ask questions and you've got to understand it. Mm-hmm. But the complexities are probably, they're going to make your brain ache. But that's the technical side of how things link together to make a successful application. I mean, you've got to understand the basics of what the process involves.
Mm-hmm. And when you say complexities, we're talking about things that are gray areas, things that are up to interpretation, things like that.
Well, yeah, and making sure at the moment, you see, everything has to align. Things have to feed into each other and align properly. And sometimes when people try and do things by themselves, they miss that one vital piece of the puzzle that can make an application crumble. So that's where the expertise of the licensed advisors comes in, of course. So, but people are successful in doing it by themselves. I'm not saying they can't, but just for peace of mind, knowing that it's such a big deal to move a family across the side, to the other side of the world, you want to have some peace of mind that somebody's taking care of things for you.
That's it, Julia. Carol Ann has left a message to everyone, so it is public, and she asked if you could please touch upon what we discussed in the webinar before we went live. That was having to do with, let's see, was that Cliff and I before you came on? Before we went live, if there's a condition of someone who has a condition that's, it's not fatal and it's not contagious, but it does require treatment. How are those things thought through from the INZ point of view?
Well, you do have to have an acceptable standard of health to apply for any type of visa. And when applying for work visas, there's no medical waiver thing there. So you can't use that. That comes in at residency stage. So there is a list of conditions that immigration deem as being going to be imposing significant costs. So if you're on that list, then you could have some issues. But none of them are, some of them are not insurmountable, but you have to kind of do the research on them. And if they're conditions that have a lot of medication and expensive medication, then there could be some issues around that. So we'd have to do a lot of research and stuff to make those things.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's like so many other things, isn't it? Before you jump into across a bridge, you have to see how long it is and how deep it is and what the risks are. So it's the same thing as, you're entering into New Zealand, you need to get your mind around certain things. If it's cost of medicine, that's one, and if it's policies, try to find where the threshold is. If you're either obviously yes or obviously no, that's one thing. If you're in the middle, well, you might need some help.
That's it, and that's when you need to decide whether you want to take that risk or not.
Yeah. Julia, I really appreciate your advice here today and the contribution you've made. Is there anything else that's on your mind? Anything with laws or new things coming up?
Yeah, I thought I just wanted to touch base on change coming on the 1st of October, that we have the new, it's called the New Zealand Electronic Travel Authority, that will come into effect on the 1st. So this will affect people that aren't from visa-free countries. Are from visa-free countries, sorry, scratch that. So if you're currently able to travel to New Zealand visa-free, then you'll need to make sure that you get your travel authority before you travel. Otherwise you're going to have a bit of trouble coming in. So that's something that they apply for either with an app. You can download an app to apply for it, or you can do it through the INZ website. So if you're from South Africa, for example, then you will be applying for a visitor visa to come to New Zealand anyway, and then it's already taken care of. You don't need that travel authority because you'll have a visa to come. So I'm guessing our people in the chat room are from South Africa.
Yes, I think all of them will be from South Africa, yes.
Yeah.
But then online, there'll be others.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah. So our South African clientele will need just to get their visitor visa and don't have to worry about anything else.
The place to read up on that, keyword searches or something like that?
Yeah, NZETA will be the buzzword for that.
NZETA. Okay, thanks, Julia. Anything else you'd like to share?
No, I'll pop back in later if there's any more questions.
All right. Questions, keep the questions in the chat room for Julia. If you have any, she'll pop in later. And thank you very much, Julia, for all that you do.
No worries. Thank you. See you.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So there goes Julia. We don't have Yvonne with us today. Yvonne has an illness in the family and she had to rush out. She was very apologetic and she asked if she needed to stay in traditional New Zealand way. I said, no, go take care of your family and health first. I think most countries would do that. The illness does have quite a high temperature in her family. So, I mean, what else can you do? So what she wanted to talk about was fan mail. So what does it mean, fan mail? I don't know. She wasn't here, but she said she was going to present it next week. I do have some of my own fan mail to share. I can sort of help out with that. I just dug this up quite quickly. I'm in this week, so I can go through with what happened in the week. So, and when I say fan mail, it's basically just old clients that say hi. And it's really a great pleasure when old clients come and call you back, because this is, the privilege that those of us have helping with this in the group here. We're helping people live their dreams, and it's not something you can take lightly. After you expose this to some of the successes a few times, you sort of get it, like this is really, really important what we're doing. You have to take it seriously every day. Is it fun? Yes. Is it helpful? Yes. But we're changing lives as well, and it should be taken very seriously every step, because it does matter for an entire generation or two or three. I mean, wherever it goes, and where many of these people are coming from, some of it is felt as quite an urgent decision. So they come here urgently. So when we have these friend-client relationships, and when they are successful, and when they do call back, it's quite nice to, to chat with these people. And some of them, they just have questions, like, I've got a reference. What should I do? Should I pass them to you directly? Because maybe, they don't have my work email or something. So yeah, I got one of those. And I had one call from someone who wanted to know if this work visa would change now that the new rules came in. And I let him know that I gave him the link to the other webinar, actually. And that's really uplifting. The more challenging calls I get is from, I do get some clients who have challenges, and that's fine. That's fine to get, because I'm working into it. I'm working from a process and we're through a process. I understand where we are, and I jump into it at a point where I know, what needs to be done. And that's great. That's part of the game, But one of the challenging ones that I get, probably the most challenging phone calls I get, not just phone calls, emails and so on, and sometimes it leads to a phone call or a video call just to sort things out, from people who are not clients. They're arrived already in New Zealand. They don't have any preparations, no meetings set up. They're on a tight schedule, and they're in a profile, or they're in a work. Their work profile is not really in a high demand sector. This is challenging. And it's also challenging to bring it up, because how do I bring that up when someone says, and this happens often, it's not just a one-off, it's like every week, more than once on average every week. I want to say twice, but it's between 1 and 3 times every week. It's that sort of fluctuation. And someone will say, here I am, I'm in Auckland, I've been here for, X period of time. It can be 1 month, it can be 1 week, it can be, these sorts of time periods. And I've got only this amount left. And so there's another time period. It can be 1 month, it can be 1 week, it can be, I'm leaving at the end of this week, and that sort of thing. And I get these calls and I'm wondering, okay, right. Normally, what I try to do is the philosophy is you set things up in South Africa so that you arrive in New Zealand with confidence, with a list and targets, and you know what you're doing. That's how to set it up. And all these questions about, am I targeting the right market even? That's all resolved in the process, right? So when someone's here and I see they're targeting sort of the same market where they came from in South Africa. So let's say a middle manager responsible for, project management. It's a popular thing. In construction, it's a popular thing. And they're coming here and they're looking for other project management roles. I'm thinking, no, that's not where you see. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Now I've got to explain, how far do you wind back? That's challenging. So I want to be nice. I want to be helpful, but I also have to be honest. I have to be realistic, and I only have so many hours in the day as well. I do deal with a lot of calls. The primary focus of my energy in the working day is on existing clients, and sorting them out so that it's on the preparation side. And then the implementation side is from that, it's from that point, if it's prepared right, the rest goes quite smoothly. But if someone's already here, I think you're getting the idea of what I'm saying. I'm saying it is a challenge. I'm trying to be, tactful, but it does require some unwinding. And, the best I think that I can do is offer, the advice that seems appropriate at the time, depending on their situation and what they need to know the truth. That's the first thing. They need to know the truth. This is hard. And I tell people in South Africa when they come to me as well, if they're in a middle management role, let's just use, say, financial manager, right? Middle management in finance. It's not easy. I'll let them know this is not easy. And if they've got very little experience, I'll let them know I'm not interested to take your money because I think it's too much risk to get in. So I actually put it in those terms. Some people are fine. Some people say, I'm committed anyway. Let's get started. And I'll do it, because if they've got that amount of passion, you see, passion is a component of the profile. Passion is an important component. If you've got the profile that has high demand, if you've got the profile with lots of experience, if you've got the profile with qualifications or education, however you want to put it, and experience as well, and hands-on experience if it's, on the tools, or, this sort of in-demand experience, all that stuff is great. But if there's no real desire to find work, that's the sort of anti-passion, that's going to seriously affect how things go. It will. On the other side, if you have these things not on par with a high demand scenario, and it's quite medium demand or low demand, passion can make up a difference. I've seen it happen. I've seen passionate people engage, inspire, make things happen so that employers light up and they say, I want you on my team. I don't care about the past. I see the energy. I see you're committed. I'm seeing that you're ready to start your life over. I'm seeing that this is make it or break it for you. And I'm ready to go with it, because as I look around in the job market, I'm not seeing anyone anywhere close to the level of energy that you're putting out right now. And I'll buy into the fact that I believe, you'll stay doing that when I hire you. So there's that sort of thing. So passion's quite important. And I always leave that little door open. You know, I never say absolutes. I've learned not to say absolutes because it's not just because I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be wrong for someone else. An absolute cuts someone else off. I don't want to be the one that says, no, that's not going to work. Well, how do I know it's not going to work? Or that's a guarantee. No, it's, well, how do I know it's a guarantee? You know, I can give estimates, you know, based on what I think, and I can tell them what I think, and I can tell them my statistics and, you know, that sort of thing, how many I've seen at work, what do I guess? Well, that's fine. But passion is a big one. It's one of those joker cards. If you're holding a deck of, you know, you got your strong suit, you've got, you know, 2 aces and a, you know, if you got a joker in there that can be any card, that's the passion card. It can be anything. You can turn it up, you know, if you've got the desire to do that. So I guess that's one thing to remember. If there's any questions, Cliff, you can interrupt. Unmute. I'll unmute. Oh, no, that's fine. And Rory, you can interrupt as well. Oh, where's Rory? Is he here? No, he's not. Okay. The other thing that came up, there's a lady called Shirley, and that's her real name. I won't say her last name, and I won't say the engineering company she's working for, and I won't say the city because you could find out where she's working. But Shirley does work. She's part owner of an engineering company that's very successful and supplies workers. And she loves South Africans. She loves foreigners. She loves to bring talent on board who have, you know, the knowledge and capabilities to do what she needs to do. And there is a rich resource in South Africa, and she's found 8 of them so far. And she's lost a number of them. So I'd like to have her on, I think, next week if she's available. She'll tell the story about, and she's very positive. She's not negative at all. So it's not like you're going to hear someone complaining, but she has had great success with a great number of South Africans. She also has some trouble of some of them that come on board after she does the risk analysis. She does the INZ thing where you got to wait and then, you know, bring someone on board. There's training involved, you know, that there's a cost there. And then there's sending it out and training the person, not only internally, but also on site. You have to get, you know, each site that they work on, each factory where they work on, the engineers go there, they have to be inducted. They have to learn what the client wants. They have to develop a relationship with the client. And it takes a while before you actually can go on your own to a client and solve a problem in the Kiwi way, in the expected way that they need it to happen with the correct documentation and all that. She works through all that. And then what happens? Someone on the employer side says, oh, here's a good worker. I think, you know, why don't we take this guy on board? He knows what he's doing. He knows our shop. He knows our machinery. He knows the relationships. He knows how to fill out the forms. Let's just hire him. And it hurts. It hurts her when it happens. If the loyalty factor could be addressed, maybe she can address it by the contract, as Cliff said in the pre-webinar. And she has looked at that. I don't know the complications in that. But if we could just perhaps touch on here in this webinar, the idea of if you're coming to a new country, it's a small country, very few number of people. I mean, everyone knows you. I'm in Nelson, 45,000 people. Even when I was in Auckland, I was bumping into similar people because the industries are narrow. Like Auckland will have a recruiting industry, you know, and all the recruiters know each other. You know, it's that sort of thing, even in big Auckland. So it's basically a national thing. You get a reputation that follows you. And I know that we've covered that before, but for all the new people here, it is a benefit to have your reputation follow you if you're in New Zealand, because it's incentive to do the right thing, and it's promotion when you do the right thing with other people. So when you want to build a good reputation and live on that good reputation, New Zealand's a great place to do it. And if you so what I think that she'd like to underline is that she's a resource for someone who can come in, and there's many like her. There's many like her in little New Zealand that can be a resource for you when you come in. They will employ you because they have big guys that they want to supply. And the big guys have their own system. Sometimes they're not thinking outside the box. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But here's one person who currently is thinking outside the box. And unless she's completely jaded, which she doesn't seem to be now, she's going to continue on looking for foreign talent. Now, this is important because that's what you guys want. You know, look at me, I'm good. Does it matter if you're good if you're not working there? It doesn't matter. So the negative experience will potentially harm your reputation in New Zealand as sort of a hopper, a person who's hopping, from one job to another, just going for the next dollar, when the bigger picture could be something else that benefits both sides, three sides, in fact. So it benefits you, come into a place like what Shirley has. You get to know not just one of their clients that's good. You get to know a bunch of them and get a good name with a bunch of them. That's more of a fabric of reputation, not just reputation with one company or one guy, one person. It's a reputation that forms an actual network. So you've got a network of people that know you. That's very powerful. And it's from one company who puts you out at different spots. It's very powerful. You can't do that in 3 months. So the guy who leaves in 3 months won't have the possibility of doing that. Now he's stuck in one company and his reputation is, he jumped in and hopped out. Ha, ha, ha. Poor this girl, Shirley, she hired someone and, ended up with a loser. Not a loser. I mean, loser in terms of the money, in the investment. So, yeah, I think you probably understand what I'm saying. It doesn't help you to do the quick jump here in New Zealand, especially. Taking a longer term view of things does help you, and it helps the person you're hiring to hire more people as well, and to keep the good reputation going with more people. And, she's perfectly fine to say, 1 or 2 years, that's great. Just give me, a month notice and, great, I'll wish you well. That's fantastic. Good on you. You can get more money than I can pay you. Fantastic. Good luck. So there are ways to navigate the New Zealand job market after you get hired as well. I suppose I would just touch on that. We do have a question for Julia. That's great. And is there a question for me? Here's from Carol and Tate. What does a New Zealand employer mean when they ask you to do a visa support? Is that a question asking financial visa assistance? How do we answer that question? Visa support, sponsorship, these are words that are sort of thrown about, Carol Ann. An employer who is looking for someone and has someone approach them, and the person will say, I'm interested in working for you. The employer might say, yeah, well, you've got the experience that we need generally, but we can't sponsor you. Now, that word sponsor is meaning two different possible things. One is definitely not applying to what you guys here in attendance are into. Some of the viewers online will want to know. And the other one does apply. So the difference is like this. What most employers mean is they won't fund you to get into New Zealand and pay, for your airfare or for some travel allowance and so for these sorts of things. The people in this group aren't interested in that. The people in this group already have made the commitment to come. And I appreciate your question, Carol Ann, because what the employer is often is saying is they don't want to put out extra money. But there's also another term for this. Visa support can be, I don't want to even engage INZ with visa support at all to get that ball rolling. Now, what does it mean, visa support? And Julia, you may correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going from the side of the employer. I know what they do. What they do is they've got to give a job offer. That's the first step. So your first step of getting to New Zealand, if you're looking to reside in New Zealand, the first step is to get the job offer. That doesn't mean you're done. It means you have to have that job offer qualified, and how to do that. It's only two parties can do that. It's the person who is doing their own visa, or it's the agent that's this person that you have hired to do your visa. Those are the two parties that can answer, whether that job offer is compliant to your residency requirements. So once you get your answer, then you can go, and if it's not compliant, that's not the end of the world. You can actually go back and say, sorry, but make these little changes and we're fine. And then the employer decides, do I want to make those changes or not? And that's how it goes. Visa support sounds to me like, in this case, the employer is probably hesitating for that whole process. Like, no, visa support means I'm gonna give the job offer. I'm gonna wait to see if it's compliant, and I'm going to, then wait for INZ to approve it. And then if they approve it, then it could be 4, 6, or many weeks later. It could be sooner. Could be 2, 3 weeks. Could be 6 weeks. The longest I've heard is 6 months. I think actually I heard a longer one, but I don't remember the time. I mean, things can drag on. And I think for the 6 months stuff, that sort of stuff, it's really outside. I mean, it's probably the 1% thing. Again, Julie may correct me if I'm wrong. I'm only looking at statistics of people I work with. The ones that have been marginal, like on age, have been difficult, or a problem with health, marginal things, marginal questions that require further analysis. It can cause headaches for I and Z to clear through and take more time, and it can cause headaches for the employer who has to wait an extra unknown period of time. Is it done yet? No. When will it be done? Still can't answer. Why? Because it's up to I and Z. We don't know. The employers don't like that. They want someone now, or they want to understand when it will be. They don't like this waiting contest where, it's costs are going by, the loss of time is going. They don't know, who will be doing the projects next. Will it be next week, next month? When will you come on? This is unknown. These unknowns are harmful to employers. Yeah, so I guess what's the lesson of that is just do the best you can to determine whether you have a marginal visa application process or not. If there is a question, probably you should seek some help. I would seek help if there is a question. If there was marginal issues, like whether it's a borderline thing, like maybe a health thing or something like that, and just try to go through the process. At the end of the day, you're either going to be successful or you're not. Being positive and going for it is probably the only opportunity you've got. If you get the job offer, it doesn't go through, at least you've got the ability to get a job offer. And if you look at this as a process, you go through all that process of preparing yourself, all that process of engaging employers, all that process of being vetted by them, all that process of getting the job offer. All that's knowledge. So having that job offer fall through, it hurts, it feels bad, but you can do it all again. There is a cost to that. There's a time cost for you as well. So welcome to the game, say the employers. Both of us have the same problems. The risk of employing foreigners. It's not just the employer. It's not just the worker. It's mutual risk. It's a time thing, and it's a question, when does it happen and how does it happen? Everyone wants to know that. And then Shirley would like to know, how can I keep you as well? Once I find you, how do I keep you for a year or two? Any other questions? Hey, Cliff, do you want to talk about, you have been, this is a different subject. Well, you've made some interesting posts for a long time. Your posts are long, they're incredibly interesting, and they're full of details, and people get a lot out of them. You get not only likes, you get hearts. You're adding a lot of value to the group in a way that other people just aren't. I mean, I can't add that kind of value. The things you say resonate with me because I know a lot of it, but it's not until you put it all together that I see, how powerful some of these truths are about life in New Zealand or different ways of looking at things. Is there any post you'd like to share from last week before we sign off?
Is that me?
Yep.
Okay. Some of the names I know from the Facebook group, and hopefully you caught my latest post on currency. And I didn't know if anybody had questions or comments or whatever on that. It's not necessary. It's just, my post is a group thing. I ask you what you want to hear, and then I talk to it. And as I've mentioned to a couple of people, it's the same as me just looking in my front yard. What's in there? This is all local knowledge and things. I try and keep my posts short, although they're almost short novels sometimes. But I try and give you quality, not quantity. And I do try and actually think about what's not published, what's unpublished. But the same way as I would ask you what's going on where you are, and you would just simply look out your front door or front window through the bars. Yeah, that's all I'm doing is providing my local knowledge. But you guys on the polls and your feedback tell me what you're interested in and what you like, and I just try and follow that and interpret it. So as they say, my posts aren't just mine, they're ours. And when I say our, that's me and the other people on the group.
So what was this exact post about then? Could you relate that? I mean, currency. So what are we talking about?
Everyone is a millionaire, but it's not necessarily in cash or money. You know, everybody's rich in something. Two of the examples I gave, which is only two, was one, you know, are you a good cook? And there's a lot of those. So making dishes, whether it's biscuits, cookies, pastries, cakes, pies, whatever, you're a millionaire because you can do that and do it well. Not everybody can do that. That is your currency. So, you know, you can bake till the sun goes down, you know, from the time the sun comes up, sun goes down, and create something that has value to other people. And for you, it's easy. You know, maybe it's hard work, but hopefully it's easy. Usually when you're good at something and you enjoy it, it's easy. It's to somebody else, it might be impossible. If you're another, one of the examples I gave in my post was if you're a photographer, you know, whether that be a good amateur or a professional, that's your currency. So, you know, you can take pictures of anybody, and if you got a digital camera, send those back wherever it might be, and you're a millionaire. You can shoot photographs and send those back because you're either a professional or very good. That photographs, because you normally can't photograph yourself very easily, but you know, you're unlimited in your amount of currency, and go, you know, since you're a millionaire, go spend some.
And spend your currency, make some friends, make some contacts, network, and other people will have currency to trade back.
Yeah. Thanks, Carol Ann. She's kind of breaking it down in English or what have you. But
Carol Ann says, Cliff was referring to using your God-given gifts and talents in areas where it's needed without having to cost actual money, but just your time. Right, yeah. Time value.
Yeah. And some people might say, you know, I don't have any skills or any talents. Wrong. You have your time. And that can be valuable. For example, maybe there's a coworker or a neighbor who's going through a difficult time that you yourself have experienced firsthand, potentially a loss of a partner, that you've been diagnosed with some bad disease, that you're just in the hospital, you know, recovering from some illness or whatever. Go spend time with that person, hold their hand, talk to them. To that person, that's priceless. You know, and that, so, you know, don't say you don't have a currency and that you're not rich. You're just not rich in cash. Well, most of us aren't, but you're rich in other things.
You bring that up at a time when many people are adjusting to economic pains because of the travel costs and upping their lives. It's also a social pain. You bring it up in a time of transition where there's both hope and, you know, there's also fears as well.
Sure.
And I think what's good about how you're bringing it up is here we are in New Zealand. It's the perfect place to appreciate things that don't exist in other countries because the culture allows for it. It's available. It's right on your doorstep.
It's what we do. It's what
and
we
even
do.
If you don't have a lot of money, you can take your family out to some of these great places that don't exist in any big city and don't exist in many, countries as well.
Yeah, a lot of people save for a lifetime to come to New Zealand for a few weeks, and you're potentially going to live here for the rest of your life. Yeah, you don't, you know, it's like you don't have to go to a holiday somewhere else because there's so many places here to see and visit. We've got everything here. We've got mountains, we've got desert, we've got literally rainforest, you know, we've got beaches and nobody's there but you. These things in other places are priceless, you know, but they're virtually free here. So there's a lot of things which basically Kiwis take for granted because they've had them all of their life and they're just here. Whereas, as I said, other people will pay a fortune and save for a lifetime just to come here and experience it for a couple of weeks. So yeah, you know, just to live here, you know, and be able to go, as Tate said, you know, to a park or somewhere you like to, do you like to hike or tramp or ride mountain bikes or whatever? Kiwis love outdoor sports. And whether that's rugby or soccer or netball or basketball or whatever it might be, all of that's here. Yeah. But yeah, that's what we do here. That's the us I've talked about. I had a friend or acquaintance who is South African, and they said a lot of South Africans, that's not the culture. Your people are often more reserved, don't share, etc. But that's what we do. And that currency post was from somebody asking, well, how do I acclimatize, or how do I become part of the Kiwi Board Collective? So yeah, it's I just told you how life here is and what people do, and how you can look and appear like a Kiwi and act like a Kiwi and become part of us. Not them, us. When there was the shooting in Christchurch, which was a horrible thing, luckily it wasn't a Kiwi that did that, but an Australian, the whole country came together. They didn't attack a mosque. They didn't attack Muslims. They attacked us. And that's what was literally felt throughout the country from the bottom to the top. It was an attack on us. And yeah, because that's who we are, and that's who you want to be. And I think that's one of the attractions for some of the South Africans to come here, is it's like, yeah, I want that. Or that's what it was like when I was younger before South Africa changed. So yeah, they want to go back to that, and that's how it is here. So those concepts are not foreign to you, but they're just the culture here. It's just how it is. Whether you like it or not, that's how it is. But yeah, everybody that is listening to me is a millionaire in something. You just need to figure out what that something is, even if it's just your own time and sitting and talking with somebody. For them, that's priceless. I know everybody here at some point has been alone and wish they had somebody to talk to. Well, do that. That's what people do here. I've done it. I made one of my crazy posts, or I commented about something I did crazy, years ago, where, I got stopped at a sobriety check on the way back from the supermarket. And it was a cold night. The wind was blowing. The officer who did my breathalyzer test was actually, their cheeks were just bright red. So I got home and made some rolls. I put them in the oven, warmed them up, put a lot of butter on some. I put some garlic and butter on some, and was taking them back to the officers. I'm kind of a fan of the police department anyway. But, and they were gone. They had moved, and that's what they do. They don't put a checkpoint and stay at one place a lot of times. They'll move around because people will go to the pub and say, don't go down this street because they're checking you. So they were shifting around. So as I drove home, and I'm killing my own post here or whatever, but anyway, the bottom line is that's just what Kiwis do. Yeah, but
what did you do with those tasty muffins?
I actually, as I was driving home, I saw a police car, just the nose of the snout sticking out from a bunch of trees. He had backed into a drive, and it was kind of shielded, and he was looking for people that were speeding down the street. Basically, they had done some kind of saturation rate or concentration in my area, because this was on almost side streets in my neighborhood. This wasn't on the main highways. But anyway, I saw him sitting there, and I've got this big batch of hot rolls that I wrapped in aluminum foil sitting next to me. And it's like, I can't eat all of this before it turns bad. So I pulled up and parked across the street from there they were. I walked up to them, and they're probably, here's this guy carrying this big pile of aluminum foil. And, they're probably thinking, what is this guy doing? What's he up to? And I got in front of the car, and I stopped, and I waited for them to wave me on. I come from America, where you do something wrong on a police stop and they shoot you. Here, they don't have guns, so it's not an issue. But anyway, I explained the scenario to the officer. And I said, can you deliver these and even, enjoy some yourself? He said, sure, we know where they are, because it's like, it's all planned out and stuff. And, took them to them. And that was kind of the end of that story to a degree. But several years later, I think it was actually 3 years later, I was at the local mall just shopping around. And this guy approached me who I didn't recognize. He kind of pointed his finger at me like, I want you. And it's like, what did I do? And I'm thinking, am I walking in something? Did I break something? Is he security or whatever? And he asked me, are you the guy that, a couple of years ago brought some hot rolls, on thus and so street? I said, yeah, that was me. And he said, I wanted to let you know that the other officers really appreciated that. And we still talk about it jokingly today on a cold night. Where is this guy? Where's our rolls? And that
How about that? Talk about an impact. You were burned in his memory.
Yeah. Well, he's a police officer and I guess trained to do it. But yeah, he recognized me 3 years later and, remembered that event, and it was just a small little thing, but it made me feel 10 feet tall and made me feel good, just to know that it was appreciated. But as they say, it was just an off the cuff little gesture, cost me a few rolls, big deal, so I put them in the oven, but but it was just an off the cuff kind of thing. It wasn't expected or required.
You couldn't probably get that return on a gold coin, the same return as what you got for those muffins, those rolls.
No. I felt good about it. I felt good about it at the time. And all I was trying to do is show some appreciation back to the local police. That's it. It wasn't, oh, well, if they pull me over, maybe they'll let me off or something. It wasn't done for that reason. I call it an attaboy. Thank you very much, good job, what have you. And they were just doing their normal stuff, but it's like the wind is blowing and it's spitting a little rain and stuff. And they're out there freezing their ass off, excuse my French. But they're just doing their job, but still, thank you for your service kind of thing.
Cliff, you were made for this country. You've participated in it. That's a fascinating story. I never heard that. I thought I heard all your stories. I guess you have a cache in reserve.
Oh, I have a repertoire. Karen Roberts said, beaches where you're the only one there. Yeah, we got tons of them. Yeah. I used to live across from the beach north of Wellington for 11 years, and I used to go for a morning walk. And I'd walk like a mile or mile and a half or whatever. And many days I was the only person on the whole stretch of beach. There was a couple of other people who were regulars. One was a power walker and another lady, just jogged back and forth or whatever. And we'd see each other day. Don't know their names. You would just say hi and nod. It's very common in New Zealand where, you will greet people and say good day or, good morning or good afternoon, what have you. It's just what we do. Not being down or whatever, but in Russia, people can be quite stoic on the street. They don't smile or show emotion or what have you. But in their homes, they're the most gracious people you've ever met. So, it's just the culture. It's what they do. But and also in Russia, if you're invited in their home, they will give you their very best, not second best, but the very best. They'll go without so that you get the very best. That is their culture. But again, what I try and do a lot in these posts is tell you what everyday life and how things work here. So where I talked about the currency and where people wanted to assimilate to the Kiwi Borg, hey, these are things you can do to help look and act like us, to become one of us. Because it's not, you don't want to, New Zealand isn't a place, it's a mindset. So, it's like, oh, I want to see the country in the physical. Yeah, that's a part. I moved to New Zealand. One of the influencing factors was the people. I was impressed with the people. So yeah, they're, people look at, oh, there's lakes and there's this and there's the other thing and all, look at this. The people are one of our best assets. Yeah. because the nature of New Zealand, we're far away. We're far away from South Africa, but we're far away from most places. So the history here is you had to learn to do it on your own. There wasn't anywhere else close. And years ago, everything came by boat and took forever to get here, which is where Kiwi ingenuity came from, because you either repaired it or fixed something or made something, or it didn't work. You couldn't take it to the shop or get a part overnight. It just didn't exist. So it's just, that's our background and where it came from. The other thing is we're so small. I've made the comment, you can't go to the toilet in this country without everybody else knowing what color it is. But yeah, you can't slander or say bad things about people, because chances are they know them, they're related to them, and it's going to go back to them. So yeah, you can't be a bad person here. And I hate to say exist, but at least have a happy life. People are going to know about you before they meet you. So your reputation will precede you here, whether that be good or bad. And you've never met these people, but they know who you are, especially in small towns. Everybody knows everybody's business. There are no secrets. So for those of you that are from small places, know that. But yeah. So I guess that's it, Tate.
Cliff, thank you very much. It's always very nice to hear from you. And we had a chance here to run through, a couple of your posts and insights. It all very relevant to people, just to allow, that other side of analysis to filter in, because it's all part of the change. And, I think you eloquently explain better than anyone else I know what it means to be Kiwi on the social side. Often, the people who live in a country don't know how to describe their own culture. But when a foreigner comes in with a sharp focus on the culture, then puts it into words, then you say, aha, yeah, that's it. I recognize my culture now. That's the words that I would use to describe it. Well done. But they can't, it's not like something we think about.
And, I mentioned in one of my posts, people say, you're not from there. How did you learn so much? I had a lady who was my New Zealand mom that I didn't even realize at the time was telling me the things I'm sharing with you. So it's not like I saw that stuff myself. I had a person that helped me to see it and understand and told me how to act and how things work. And it's gold. Didn't even realize it. And that's what I'm sharing with you guys, is things that I was taught. I'm just passing it on. And hopefully it helps you transition or make a decision whether New Zealand is the place for you, because New Zealand is not for everybody. If you're more of a city person, you like to go to the opera or the orchestra and things like that, or big concerts and stuff, or do a lot of nightlife, New Zealand may not be your cup of tea. It's not that it's a bad place, but it doesn't fit you. And I use that statement again and again. You need a place that fits you. Something in New Zealand or about New Zealand that you've read or seen is attracting you here. So something about our culture is hitting a chord in you. And that's maybe one reason. Yeah, we have beautiful scenery and stuff, but that's not everything. The people are what's going to make it special. And for you staffers who are coming here, you're leaving your family, you're leaving your support structure, like your neighbors who watch your house when you're gone, or feed your cat or your dog when you take a trip, or you need your kids picked up. When you come here, you need to reestablish that new support system. Well, that's in your neighbors, and that's what we do. We help each other out because there isn't anybody else out there. And if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it. So yeah, as you come here, you need to reestablish that support system. So that's important to you and, your family and the quality of your life. Yeah, lifestyle, we all hear about it, but I live it. It was one of the reasons I came. But as they say, it was the people that were the bigger attractor. And I've mentioned it time and time again. Kids are important here. Kids are treated very special, taken care of, watched after by everyone. Yes, you look after everybody else's kid. That's how it works.
Thanks a lot, Cliff. I think we'll have to wrap it up there. I think what we'll do is I'll pull that out into its own video because it was beautiful. I got a message from Julia early on. I didn't break in and tell anyone. She just said, thanks a lot for the time. There's no further questions, so she's just going to leave. And that's why we went over. Otherwise, we would have had her on earlier. And I'm glad we did go over because, Cliff, thanks a lot for that review. So I think I've got to close things off now, though. Thank you all for joining. It's been a pleasure as always. And, you know, we never know what we're going to happen. Never know what we're going to be doing next time. I'm sure we'll figure something out. I think we're getting a little bit better with the planning side. Hopefully we'll come up with a really good package later. Advice is always welcome. Join the chat room and you know, keep this alive. It's basically supposed to be your show. So whoever shows up here can drive a lot of it with the questions that you have.
Thanks, Karen. Karen said, stop selling, Cliff. You've convinced us.
All right. Yep. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Cheers.